do have a quorum, so we can start the meeting. So I think we're missing Erica. And let me just
But it probably won't be a bad idea if we do try to like end by 8:30.
I 100% support that. So I guess I can call the meeting of the Community Safety and Social Justice Committee to order. It is 6:30 on March 12th. Pursuant to the Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the recording or proceedings in real time via technological means. So we will go over the agenda, announcements, minutes, member reports, public comment, Crescent DEI updates, Rob, Youth Empowerment Center, retreat planning, meeting with town council, public comment, items not anticipated. So I'm gonna jump in with an announcement. Oh, it looks like Erica might be in the attendees. There is an Erica, it does not say which Erica it is, but perhaps she could be moved over. Or I'm a co-host, I guess I could do that too. So we have received resignation from Dr. Pat Romney. Unfortunately, she had some scheduling conflicts, so she will not be able to fulfill obligations to the committee. So we will have a vacancy for her position. And then I guess there's a question as to Angelique's participation. I believe she and Dr. Romney were appointed at the same time, which I think was November or before that. Maybe Erica, do you remember when you were appointed? I think it might have all been within the same few months.
Yeah, it was November. My first meeting was December.
Okay.
So it's been at least 2 or 3 meetings that she has not participated. So I guess that's something that we need to think about as a committee, because I think there's been one other case where we had a college student who showed up a few times and then didn't participate. So, I think I can bring it to Paul and just say, what do we do in this scenario? Just to make sure that we have active participants in our committee, I think is an important thing to do. But I know Paul is aware, at least he was copied on Dr. Pat's resignation letter. So he knows that there's at least one vacancy, but does that seem like a good step forward to just reach out to Paul and ask about what do we do when we have members who haven't attended for reasonable? No.
Yeah, so and I want to add to it that Angelique too, I actually reached out to her. So I think she didn't make it that first meeting in December, and then after that, I think we had talked about it, and so then I had emailed her. So I only emailed her one time, but I did email her to check in to see, hey, what's going on? Do you need anything? We're looking forward to you joining us, and never heard anything, no response. So yeah, so at this point, right, we're in March. I think that's a natural next step.
Okay.
Is to let Paul know, because like you said, we do need active members. So we want to kind of follow up and see what happens if someone that kind of said that they wanted, and I was one of the people, and Camille was there too when we had interviewed her. She sounded very excited, very much wanting to be part of the group. So we were all very excited about her and being part of the group. So maybe something changed, maybe she got busy, but it would just be nice to either get some communication from her or, kind of move on, because we need active members.
Right.
I also reached out to her back in end of last year, beginning of this year, and received nothing. Also, I will let you know, I think Angela was going to reach out, Angela Mills.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, so see, I didn't even know that, Camille. So thank you for sharing that. So that means 2 reach outs and no communication, and then
No.
if Angela also reached out. So maybe, yeah, maybe she just changed her mind, you know, or what have you. So yeah, let's contact Paul and then see what can happen. And then, of course, I would just want to mention in terms of Dr. Pat Romney, you know, of course, you know, she's just an incredible person, a wealth of knowledge, and we're all very excited about her joining our group. But life happens, and I know, you know, everyone gets busy, but of course, it's you know, it's a loss for us. But I know that she'll continue to be a supporter of CSSJC, and will most likely, you know, jump on whenever she can. So just wanted to thank her for the months that she was able to attend.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Romney. Are there any other announcements from anyone?
Yeah, I have one announcement. It's for the Cape Verdean Student Alliance, the student group from UMass. They're gonna have their kind of gala, Cape Verdean Awareness Day on April 12th, which is a Saturday. I believe it starts at like 7. You know, the cultural night and food and music and poetry and all sorts of things. I'll be emceeing for the evening, so it'll be fun. I'll be doing
Is
some
that
poetry too. Huh?
at UMass or?
Yeah, it'll be at UMass at the Student Union Ballroom. So I'll, you know, I'll continue to make the announcements, but if you all are available, it's family friendly. Bring your kids, my kids go and stuff like that. So it's a fun night. April 12th, 7 o'clock, Student Union Ballroom. And then the other thing is just, again, to do a shout out for kind of Black businesses of color, just because of everything that's going on in our world today and all the attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think it's even more important now that we support, you know, businesses of color, BIPOC businesses, Black businesses, to make sure that they feel our support, right? So as much as folks can spend their money there and also spend their money in places and businesses that have diversity, equity, inclusion in place and are about inclusivity for LGBTQIA plus folks, and all the folks that, you know, that we're about, right, in terms of our town being an inclusive town and our world being an inclusive world. So just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Thank you, Deborah. Any other announcements? All right, we can move on to minutes. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna figure Zoom out eventually, I promise. It's only been 5 years of this. Let's see. Screen. I don't know. It's not showing up.
You want me to try to share it?
Sure. Sorry, I also got a new computer and it's just like not showing me my screens to share, so.
Can you all see it there, the minutes? Can you see the minutes or no?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, so these were the minutes. This is from February 12th meeting, our last month's meeting. I don't know if people had any edits or if it's good to go.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it too.
All right. Do we have, I move to approve the minutes?
I second.
All right. Lisette,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Everald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Minutes approved. Let's see. Next, we have member reports. Does anyone have anything to report on?
I guess I'll just say one thing and then obviously go more into it. When we do kind of the Rob overview and everything, I just want to say, just in case any community members who are attending want to comment on it, that I did leave the Resident Oversight Board stakeholder group, and I'll go into more specifics around that when I report out in regards to it. And that, I had put out a call to see if any other CSSJC member would be willing to kind of replace me on that group, because obviously it's an important group because they're putting together the bylaws that's going to go to the town council to then put in place the Resident Oversight Board, which we know will be a pivotal group for community members, all residents of town of Amherst, but most specifically BIPOC and marginalized voices in the town of Amherst. And of course, I had, very real reasons in terms of why I left the group. And like I said, I'll share more. But I understand that everyone is really busy right now. So, but Allegra was willing to be at least the person to kind of receive feedback around the bylaws, even though no one will be able, from our group, will be able to attend the meetings. But Allegra has agreed to at least be the point person to receive feedback so that at least she can provide the feedback on behalf of CSSJC. So I just wanted to thank Allegra for taking that on. It's going to be important, like I said, for CSSJC to still have a voice and participate in whatever manner we can participate, because it's a very important group that hopefully will be established soon.
Thank you, Deborah.
I'll wait to report when we get to retreat planning.
Okay, thank you. Then I think we can move on to public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, we have one period now and one at the end of the meeting. If you would like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand function, and then we will bring you into the room to speak. You can identify yourself and express your views. We will not respond to them. So if you would like, you can raise your hand and we can bring you in. And if you want to hold comment till the end of the meeting, I just raised my hand. I didn't mean to do that. Excuse me. You can do that as well. I apologize. All right, we have Pat.
Good evening. Can people hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you. Good evening, Ms. Pat.
So Pat Ananibako, thank you all for your time. I just have 2 comments to make. I just want to publicly thank Philip Avila, the Assistant Director of DEI, with his extraordinary effort to include Black Business Association of Amherst area at the initial planning of the the Global Village Festival. This is the first time that I can think of that a town official took the extraordinary step to reach out to BBAA. Not only reaching out to my group, he made sure that we participated in the decision-making process about the festival. And I just want to say this to show how inclusive collaboration looks like, and not just marginalized group cannot just be afterthought after decisions are made and then they get invited. I don't play that. As long as I am chair of any organization, I do look at that. At what level is my group participating in the so-called town activities? And so I'm making efforts to really rally people to show up and celebrate, because Philip has really, at a very short period, has done what people have not done in this town. I just want to put that out. So thank you, Philip. The second thing I want to say is also another thank you to Deborah. And I'm, for being part of the bylaw, the bylaw for the ROB, Resident Oversight Board. And without you, we wouldn't have known all the stuff that was going on. It took a lot of courage for you to do that. And that's why we have CSSJC, because CSSJC is the watchdog of social equity in this town. So thank you so much. I understand, whatever, your reasons for, wanting, to stepping down, but the time that you spend that with that group will never be forgotten. You stood out more than anybody else. Allegra, thank you for stepping in. I know you're super busy, professional, and mom and everything. The public needs to know what's going on there. I'm not going to mention name, but I read an article that one of the ROB bylaw member wrote. It's out there. And I just want to put that out. And the article, well, was written as if, nothing was happening there. And not even acknowledging Deborah for exposing what CSWG wanted for the ROB. It was very disappointing when I read the article. I'm not going to mention the person's name, but I encourage the public to read it and just to understand, how our town rolls in this. Yeah, that's all I can say. And I'm happy to, forward it to anybody who, but it's out there. It's out there. While I'm not surprised about the person who wrote it, because this town is all about status quo. I'll stop talking. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Not seeing any other hands up. We can move on to the next item, which I believe will be CRES and DEI updates. And just to let the public know that because our meeting time conflicted with the Liberatory Visioning, DEI does not have a representative here. We did get a written update from them and it was posted in our packet, and I can just read it once Chris has given their update.
Thank you. It's been a really busy month as we were preparing for Blarney. And as folks in town know, that is a huge unsanctioned affair that happens in townhouse apartments. So there was a lot of coordinating with APD, AFD, and municipal government, and also with partners from other agencies and other police and fire that had to come in. I don't have exact numbers, but I will for next month. But CRES had at least a dozen calls during that time. We came in special. We also set up a safety tent right in front of the Emmanuel Lutheran Church. We had received permission and gave out water to the students. And at this time also we're doing some outreach and also checking to make sure that students were not too inebriated and were safe. We did transport one student back to their dorm who was having some difficulty. And we also worked alongside APD and AFD. I also last week and this week participated in the CIT training, which is held in Holyoke, which is what certain members of police departments go to. That stands for Critical Incidents Training. Completed that today. And as of now, we only have one team member who will be doing this next cohort, which I believe is the first week in May. So we have everyone trained in CIT. We are set to do CIT youth at the end of the month. Also, all of our responders and our senior volunteer and administrative assistant are trained to the highest level of CPR and AED. And the newsletter went out today. I went out late because my news people were out to post it until today, and I've been out. So that will be posted on the town's website for tomorrow when they return. And I also want to mention that there's a mention for Global Village, which will be happening April 5th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Crest will be there alongside DEI, and more information will be coming next month. We're going to get the newsletter out earlier, and I hope you were able to look at it today. Thank you.
Camille, in terms of Blarney and like the arrests, do you happen to know if like most of the arrests were made by Amherst police or were other localities also making arrests?
I don't know. That is information I don't know. I was in the op center in the morning and there was large crowds, and I don't know how many arrests were made at that time. But what I do know, I'm pretty sure, was that for the early part of it, it was Amherst PD. The numbers seem to have been held steady, I think, from last year also. I will say this, that there was a young man who came by the tent at the same time that the town manager came by to see how things were going. And he expressed that he's a senior, and he expressed that this year it seemed that things were more less chaotic. So this was my first year, so I can't address that or speak to it. But on our end, things went really well, and we have some notes to go over for the debriefing later this month, and also more plans for next year. So should this happen again, we'll be better prepared.
Thank you. I see Erica and Deborah have their hands up.
Do you want to go first, Deborah?
No, you can go. You can go.
So yeah, I did see you guys out in front of the Lutheran Church, and I think that was really a great visibility space, especially to let students and students of color know of Crest's existence here in Amherst, especially those who are off campus, because there can be situations where hopefully you get the calls from APD, but if not, then they know who to call. I also really appreciated the newsletter in terms of the presentation of how to identify a Crest member, because I think people are very wary of someone coming to them or talking to them. So I thought that was really nice. and just the introduction of staff in the newsletter, as well as all the announcements that really, shows the position you have here in Amherst. I think, with regard to this Barney blowout, I did hear that UMass, they had a lot of activities off campus and away from Amherst. And I actually live in North Amherst, and so I avoid Meadow Street. But at 6 p.m., which generally is you never go down Meadow Street around 6 p.m. on a Barney blowout, it was empty. So I think this year there was more of an effort from UMass to try to divert students from spending their time drinking. And I think making a real farce of Irish culture. So just wanted to state that.
I will let you know that one of the things that happened, well, there was I forgot what they called it. It was spring fling. I can't remember what it was called, but there were more than 2,000 students that went on these trips, which ranged from going to see Hamilton in New York to tubing, to skiing, to going out to the Berkshires, to the museums. And those filled up very quickly. There was also a hockey game at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I think there was a basketball game at night. So UMass is really working actively to lessen the impact on Amherst.
So for me, I just want to, thank you, Camille, for you all being out there. I know that, of course, it's a huge concern in terms of, just making sure that the students are safe and that they, get hydrated and so on and so forth. And of course, it's that kind of dichotomy, right, between the residents and the students and everything. So I'm glad that CRES is working alongside the fire department and the Amherst Police Department to kind of, do this work with our students, which we know every year, there's this activity, right? And how do we kind of mitigate it, right, with our students? So, thank you for doing that. And in that same vein, I think for me, it's kind of like, and that's why, right, we want to advocate CSSJC, we want to advocate for CRES to be able to do more, right? And APD to do less, right? In terms of like the noise complaints and being kind of responsive to some of these other, issues. So I just wanted to know, because I know that, you've been working on your kind of like personnel kind of policies and procedures and things like that. So I wanted to kind of get a sense of how things are going with some of those things. Like how are things going for kind of the funding, because I know budget season's coming up. I know we wanted, CRES to get like an assistant director in place and, other more staffing and things. So kind of getting more of a sense of the structure and whether, you all are being, kind of the same questions like dispatch and things like that.
So one of the things that happened today is we're working with Jason Rushford, who is the supervisor for the dispatch center, and also reached out to Amos Irving, I think, who authored the LEAP report. And we were talking about how we were going to work on the dispatch. And as it is now, the previous way that was done was call trees, but they're moving away from call trees because call trees end up, is it this, is it that, and going around. And it gets complicated and convoluted. So there are new methods that are coming out now, and that's what we're working on, along with training for the dispatchers so that we're all on the same page. So these things are coming along really well, and Jason has been a huge advocate. Also, as far as the SOPs, the base ones are finished. Now we're working on the ones that will directly affect how CRES operates in town. So we have the macro level ones are completed, and now we're working down towards the micro ones. But at the same time, because that takes time. We're really working to get dispatch and us all on the same page. So we have been getting more calls from dispatch, and that is because of Jason's work. He is a great advocate for us. And also there are new dispatchers that are in the emergency center. So I think that having people that are new and coming in and knowing that CRESS already exists is going to make it easier for those people to know how to dispatch us with training.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. Hopefully, yeah, for the next meeting, if you can kind of share more about it, and I'm happy that there's support from Jason and others in terms of dispatch happening. Because, again, that was the vision for CRESS, from CSWG, is that CRESS take on more and be able to kind of lessen those kind of police interactions where it's not needed, if it doesn't include any type of violence or, criminal behavior. So hopefully, the dispatch will continue to move forward. And along those lines, it's more so around the budget. Do you know if there will be an increase? Because I know, obviously, like I said last time, I know some town councilors and rumors are, oh no, well, lessen CRESS's budget. But for me and others, we want to increase CRESS's budget because we want CRESS to be able to do more, because we know that CRESS is a absolute benefit to the community, and we want CRESS to remain. So not sure. So that then, if there isn't an increase to the budget, that's something that obviously we can advocate for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I also wanted to let you know that our DPH EAPS grant, the evaluator was here on Monday. As you know, the EAPS grant was put in the budget late last year, and we didn't receive the money until late in the year. We had to wait. As the governor, it was not in their budget. And as it stands now, it is not in the budget for fiscal year 2026. And that is a majority of the money that CRESS is using to provide services and programs and to do more than just our existence. We have a very small discretionary budget. And so we are actively looking for other grants. But if we do not receive those grants, it's going to be difficult. So we're trying to do as much as we can to work towards getting our budget.
Is this something though that you would want us to do? Like, so Allegra and I, obviously we could go and, meet with Paul, or, I don't know, is there an ask that you would want us to make or anything like that? Or we can meet with you first, for us to kind of get a more of an understanding and then kind of advocate, because that's the thing, we would need to know, you know what I'm saying? So that then we could do more of the advocacy.
I think one of the things that's really happening now is really getting out in the community and showing the value of CRESS, so that people are seeing more of us at events and out in the street. And now that it's getting nicer, more than just us, helping folks who have had difficulties. As you know, there are a lot of the services, there's a shortage of people to be helping elders. Amherst has a large elder community, and those elders that had been doing a lot of the work to help their neighbors are not. And CRESS is trying to figure ways out that we can help, but still maintain the mission. So, and that has been, there's a lot of people that we've had to turn away that, I won't say a lot, but if it's possible, we make it happen.
Thank you.
Erica.
So I'm not sure where I read this, but my understanding is that town council has asked Paul to provide a report on CRESS by the end of June. And I read, that he stated that this was not part of the goals that he had that town council gave him, but that he was actually going to do that. Is he working with you to do that? Hopefully working very closely with you to do that?
I have, and that is something that we're working on now. And as I said, I've been in training the last 2 weeks. So, and with Blarney, that took a lot of time. So now my focus has gone to the budget and also to getting it out there, what Crest does, and to really have people rally behind us. And as far as uh, getting that information and um, what the town council asked for, I'm working with Paul closely and also other members, the finance committee, to get all that information so that we can have a good outcome.
Thank you, Lisette.
Hi, thank you. Camille, just a quick question. You mentioned transporting a student back to their dorm. Were they intoxicated?
They were missing their friends. And no, they were not intoxicated like that because we actually helped a student who ended up needing AFD that was intoxicated. So that's what we were doing, is hydrating, just making sure people were safe. So this student was just lost their friend, and we transported them back to their dorm room.
Okay.
They weren't from town. That was one of the problems.
Okay. I was just thinking if they were intoxicated, I'm glad you guys helped her out, but I think it would also be a way of less police involvement in situations like that, which would be great. And it makes
Well, yes.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. So no, and that's some of the things that we were doing, is just making sure that people were safe. So that was the whole idea behind the safety tent, was to make sure that if anybody was having any difficulty, that they could come to Crest and wouldn't need to involve APD. So,
Good.
but a lot of the students, I will say this, a lot of the students were really happy to see us, to get hydrated, and also to have a conversation and making sure, we encourage them to make sure they drank water, that groups stayed together, just for safety.
Okay.
Thank you. Everald.
Thanks, Allegra. Camille, I just want to follow up. In terms of working,
You muted yourself.
apologies. In terms of working with Paul on the report for town council, do you know what exactly they're asking for in this report? And if you're allowed to say, what exactly is being put in this report for the town council?
Honestly, I read the email and everything else has been so busy that I really didn't get to go through it thoroughly. So, I mean, I think it was more along the lines of the same things that everyone else has been asking. What is Crest doing, and how has the mission stayed the same or changed since its inception?
Okay. And just one follow-up. So no, I understand that, they're asking the town manager. I mean, given that Paul is, for lack of a better term, removed from Crest to an extent, would you be the one that is going to provide him the majority of that information?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you're the director of Crest, so
Okay.
are you putting together that report for Paul?
No, at this point, I think there's going to be someone else that's going to be coming in to do the report. And also probably could also look at the DPH and EAPS report too.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any things to say? I guess I would just comment that I think while Blarney can be the bane of existence for many of us in town. I think that it's a good step for Crest to have a presence there because I think it could work towards eventually potentially being in a situation of, oh, there's a large gathering, can Crest respond instead of the police? And I know that that's something that's been a big point of contention with noise complaints and calls such as that. But I think Blarney's as big as it's going to get in terms of town debauchery as it may be. And so I think that having a presence at large scale events that do have the potential for many things to go wrong at them, in my eyes at least, would be setting the stage for Crest to be able to take on more responsibility in that kind of scenario instead of APD. So that's my opinion. And I see Everald has his hand raised. So.
Thank you.
I just wanted,
Go ahead,
one
Camille.
second, can I just say that, I will say this, that right off the bat, that, APD, we were in the planning with them and, you know, they had ideas of where we could be. We had 3 different locations. And when things calmed down in one location, actually, there wasn't much going on. We all moved to, where the hot spots were.
So given that we're talking about Barney blowout, I mean, I was in court on Monday, and I think it's a good point to ask this question. Is there any relationship with UMass PD? Do you guys have conversations with UMass about Crest and the services that you offer? And I'm asking because while there weren't that many APD arrests, I believe there were about 28 or 30 UMass PD arrests for Barney blowout.
I'm not sure about what UMass had, but I do know that Crest is a part of the CCC, the, oh my gosh, Campus Community Coalition. So as part of that, there's APD, AFD, there's the campus police, there's student affairs, student, like the off-campus student housing. We meet once a month. That will be next week. I won't be here. I'll be on vacation. But we go over and work together to help out. So every month, you know, I give a report of what we're doing in the community and how if we're getting calls to any of the frat houses or any of the buildings that off-campus students are housed in. So it's a very collaborative group, and they welcome our input.
Thank you.
Any final words about Crest? Well, thank you, Camille, for giving us the update, and I hope you enjoy your vacation.
Yes, I'm going on a cruise, taking my mother for her 80th birthday. So
Enjoy.
thank you.
Well, I see it's
Take care.
7:15, so we have about an hour and 15 minutes till Everald has to leave. I don't know, Camille, if you want to stick around with us or you have given, although I don't know if you would have anything to add to the Rob discussion. I don't know if you
Oh,
were.
It's only 7:15. I
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to briefly read the DEI update that Philip sent. So today.
If I can just, I'm sorry, Allegra. And I don't know how the functions of the town council work, but Camille, since you're still here, would there be any benefit to having, you know, anything written by this committee as part of this Crest report to the town council?
It couldn't hurt. I I think that as far as support, any and all support is truly appreciated.
Okay.
You know, working collaboratively, I think it shows the community that we're all working towards the same goal.
Right. Okay. Allegra, I'm done. Thank you.
So maybe, maybe I can start to draft something and we can do our typical don't reply all scenario. Um, and you said the report is due by the end of June?
I think it said June 1st.
Oh, okay, beginning of June.
So
So
then
would
by
we
when do you
maybe-
want us, yeah, by when do you want us to get the statement to you, Camille?
Whenever you can before then. I don't know. Don't have the council records in front of me, but you know, when they're meeting. So
I mean, if it's due by the 1st of June and you're out the next meeting,
no,
what-
I'm here the next meeting.
oh, you're here the next meeting. So
Oh,
you're
I'm
here-
not, I'm leaving next week. I'm leaving
Okay, so you're
Friday.
here at the next month's
Yes.
meeting.
I am.
Why don't we just do a commitment to get it done by the next month's meeting?
Thank you.
Thank you, Avril, great idea.
Writing it down on my to-do.
And thank you, Allegra, for volunteering to begin the draft.
Oh, yep. All right, so let's see, from DEI, tonight is the last liberatory visioning session with Dr. Love. There were 3 in total, and I believe there was also a survey that could be filled out. Department trainings efforts are going to schedule DEI training sessions. Efforts are ongoing to schedule DEI training sessions with the remaining town departments to ensure that all personnel are equipped with the necessary tools to support an inclusive and equitable work environment. Youth empowerment programming, a youth entrepreneurship workshop is being held every Saturday in March. We encourage everyone to stop by the junior market on April 5th at the Global Village to support and purchase items created by the participants. Please note the payments will be accepted in cash only. Additionally, on April 15th and 16th, on April 15th and May 14th, we're partnering with Citizens for Juvenile Justice and CREST to host Know Your Rights workshops for youth. These workshops will cover critical topics such as bullying and school to prison pipeline. Please help spread the word and encourage participation. Transgender Day of Visibility. To commemorate Transgender Day of Visibility, we will be hosting a movie night on March 31st at 7 p.m. in the Bangs Center, Bangs Community Center, Room 101. The featured movie is Will and Harper, which focuses on important themes related to the transgender community. And finally, the Amherst Global Village Festival will take place on April 5th from 10 to 6 p.m. Is that at the Common, Camille?
Last I knew, yes.
Um,
I can look.
We hope to see you there as we celebrate diversity and culture of our global community. And then Philip is wondering if we want to have a table at the festival. Do we want to have a table at the festival?
Yes, let's have a
Yes.
table at the festival.
All right. So maybe I can send sign up sheet to see if we can take shifts to work.
Well, but I think like for us though, it's not like we have any like materials or anything. So maybe it's like, do we want to join like the DI table or, or something like that?
Yeah. So I can tell Philip that we would be interested in supporting the DEI table, and then figuring out when that might be helpful for us to show up.
Exactly. And then we can share information about
Yeah.
the SSJC, and then obviously all the other recommendations that CSWG recommended and things like that.
All right, that sounds good. So I will let Philip know. Yes.
Also, it is all set for the North and North Common and South Common for parking. So yes, it's at the Commons.
All right. So unfortunately, I can't answer any questions about DEI, because that was just the information that was given. So the next item on the agenda is the Rob. Deborah, would you like to go a little bit more into detail about what's been going on?
Yeah, so I'll go into detail in terms of, but well, I gotta be careful though, in terms of how much detail I into, because at the last meeting, I shared detail around the draft that the Resident Oversight Board, so the ROB Stakeholder Board shared, as well as, you know, when we had met, I had shared a screen that had the you know, the reasons why the police representatives who are the, you know, part of the police union, why, you know, some of the resistance that they had around the ROB. And so based on that sharing, there was an article that was written by the Indy. And so then basically the police decided to leave the group because of, based on, well, there were other reasons, but at the end of the day, kind of said that it was because of me that they were leaving the group, because I had broken the trust and shared confidential information. So for me, it was kind of like really interesting, because for me, I'm just kind of like, this is a town group. This is a group where we're discussing a very important board that basically is going to be a board where people are going to be able to file complaints against the police and possibly other public safety agencies in the town. And why wouldn't the town, you know, why shouldn't I share information that is critical to the town and to especially BIPOC people and marginalized people? I mean, that is who I am. I'm not someone that is going to be secretive, or, you know, not sharing, you know, these key types of information with the community, because that's what it's about. And so, and again, I can't, you know, I've been kind of almost, you know, got to be very careful what I say. And so, you know, what I can share is that at the last meeting, there was that whole sense of, well, if the police is not at the table, then, you know, that wouldn't be good, because we want to make sure that everyone's at the table. Because for me, I was just kind of like, well, you can't even discuss these issues. What you do is you just leave without any type of discussion, just because there was the article that the Indy wrote, which again, free press is free press, and you can write whatever they want to write, right? And so, and then you just leave. And then, and so for me, it was kind of like, well, okay, you don't want to take part of it, you don't want to take part of it. But then we had a discussion, and, you know, the group decided as a group that no, the police should be at the table, which for me, that's fine, right? But for me, then after that meeting, I basically decided that for myself, right, I don't want to be the reason why the police don't come back, or a representative doesn't come back to the table. I don't want there to be any type of excuses as to why this bylaw draft doesn't go to the town council, and why the town council wouldn't consider this, right? Because I can see this right down the road of, oh, well, the police didn't take part of it, they weren't part of the discussions, and therefore this is not a legitimate draft bylaw and everything else. So for me, since I was kind of scapegoated as the problem, I felt like I should remove myself as the person on that group, because I don't want any excuses, right? And so it was a very difficult decision, because I know that I'm very vocal and I'm someone that will share, right? You know, besides what, and I'm going to put it in this way, right? So that I don't get maligned out there by anyone, that this is my opinion, right? My opinion is that there is resistance on the part of the police in terms of putting the resident oversight board in place. Because all of the data that we gathered through CSWG, right, through all our town forums, through the 7th generation, and the data that Rabbi Deb gathered to that also established that there is a definite need for resident oversight board, gets distilled into, oh, it's only Deborah, right, who keeps making this big fuss about it, and trying to say that that we need a strong Rob with authority that's going to be independent, that's going to have this investigative power as well as subpoena power and so on and so forth. And it gets distilled into almost kind of like it's only me that's disgruntled, almost kind of like, and this is my words, not their words, but my words, like the angry Black woman, right? But I'm sorry, no. I know that there, I heard, and I've also experienced, and others that look like me have experienced different, negative experiences with the police, right? And I'm not going to be silent, and neither will those voices be silent. I will always speak on behalf of those folks, and I'm not going to be. And so for me, it was also a decision in terms of I'm not going to be part of a group, right, where I can't share information, where I need to, kind of walk on eggshells in terms of what can be shared, what can't be shared. What are we talking about? Why can't the information be shared? I don't get it. We're a town group talking about a bylaw that's going to be, drafted for a resident oversight board. So for me, I don't get it, but fine. I will remove myself. Now, as I stated, CSIJC will continue to have a representative, which will be Allegra, even though we won't be able to be at those meetings anymore. And I know that I was one of the people at the meetings that kept bringing up a lot of issues, right? And kept bringing up that, no, this needs to be a strong resident oversight board. So the fact that, and I hope that this group will have more town forums before that draft goes to the to the town council, as opposed to doing all this work behind closed doors and then just bringing the draft to the town council. And that's when the community gets to see what the draft is all about. Because for me, I will be very vocal, and I will continue to be very vocal, that the resident oversight board needs to be very strong, needs to be independent, needs to have the authority to be able to do its work. And if I, at the end of the day, see a resident oversight board that is diluted, weak, and some type of advisory committee or something like that, I will point that out, and I will say it. And and anyone else can be upset, and what have you. But I'm here to really talk about the people that on the day-to-day, right, in this town don't feel included, and that feel intimidated and feel afraid, right, because of their interactions with the police. So that is the reason why I chose to recuse myself, because again, like I said, I want no excuses, right, on behalf of the police not to participate, because then I became the problem, right, because I shared, information that I shouldn't have shared. But which in my mind, like I said, is public information, and the public has the right to know this information. That's me. That's my opinion in terms of the work that I do. And you all know that that's who I am. I'm about transparency. I'm about sharing information with the town and making sure that people know what's going on, as opposed to any type of closed door type of communication. But anyway, I'll stop there. I see, Avril, that you have
And Deborah, I did just want to say I really appreciate all the time and the hard work that you put into being on the committee. I know it has been somewhat difficult. And I do think that here, knowing some of the background, I'm going to do my best to try and at least make it to the next meeting. And it sounds like we will have additional meetings that we are doing a doodle poll for this past Tuesday. Did not work for my schedule, but I think there's still seeming to be some like unresolved bigger picture issues about what the RUB will look like from my like brief reading of the recap that I received today. So I'm going to make more of an effort, but at least if I can't make it to the next meeting, I think you and I should connect so that I can make sure that my comments are a continuation of kind of what you had been pushing for. And I think that they are for the most part, but I think just so that I understand what has come before me. And, you know, I'm not just hopping in and starting from square one with my new ideas. And Everald, thank you for letting me jump in there.
That's okay.
Definitely, anything you need, Allegra. I mean, obviously, yeah, we can meet and I can kind of give you, I can debrief you and kind of bring you up to speed in terms of, you know, at least up until the point that I was involved in it. And like you said, yeah, it has been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in terms of taking part in this, because this is very, you know, personal to me and to others in this town that want to see a strong Rob established. And yeah, since November, I've been at these meetings and things like that. But I think it's just when push comes to shove, right? When you end up being vocal, there's that pushback, right? But like I said, it's never about me. It's always about the community. And that's what I want this to be about. Everett?
Thank you. So now that I actually fully understand the full story, I actually disagree with your decision to quit. I think that we were asked to send a representative from CSSJC, and you are the representative. And we have no issues with you being the representative, and I think you should still be the representative. Everything that you've said is there needs to be that voice there. Because if these issues and these concerns are not raised and no one talks about them, then to your point, we're going to get a version of something that serves no purpose other than something on a letterhead to say Amherst have a resident oversight board, and except that people say it does nothing, it's only in name. So the fact that, you know, the police or the police union representatives chose to leave for that reason, I think it was just a precursor for them to leave and not anything substantial. I mean, yes, they can address to say, hey, you know, we're trying to have this conversation, and this is a public body, a public decision. To your point, there's nothing to be done in secrecy unless there was something agreed to at the outset to say we're going to keep these conversations in confidence, but I don't see how that could happen when it is part of public record as to what this is happening. So for them to come out and say, you know, and I hear you not wanting people to say the police were not present and you're the reason why. I don't think you could ever be the reason why. I think they have their own reasons for not wanting this to happen. And regardless whether it's you or somebody else, they will try to find a reason not to do this resident oversight board. The only issue here is that, you know, now they have something to hang. And I understand why you want to leave, so they cannot say that. But again, that strong voice, that voice that articulates what the community as a whole feels and what the community needs, it cannot be, you know, a consensus from, you know, the police have their own agenda. They do. It's in the nature of unions to bargain, and that's fine. There's no argument about that. But one of the reasons why the town chose people from different committees is to have different opinions there that cannot be overlooked. So yes, I understand what you're trying to do, but you know, as part of the CSSJC, I strongly believe that you should not leave. You know?
Yeah, you know, thank you, Everett. Thank you for that. Obviously, I appreciate it. You know, yeah, like I said, it was a difficult decision for me. But I just wanted to kind of be respectful of what the group wanted, right? Which is the police back at the table and stuff. And I don't want there to be any delegitimacy, right, of these bylaws at the end of the day, because like I said, that's the most important thing. And I don't want to be an impediment towards that, right? Any excuse for the town council not to put, you know, the Rob in place and things like that. And so I don't want to be an impediment ever, to doing that. And so that's why I made that decision, because I wanted to just, make sure there was no excuses at the end. And that's why I did it. But I do understand that obviously, yeah, now, it leaves it open, right? But I'm sure Allegra will do a great job, but it leaves open, obviously, just the whole part in terms of what the actual bylaw will look like at the end. Which I'm very
I think this committee, not CSSJC, but this oversight committee, I think they're missing an opportunity here, because if at the end of the day, they can have a bylaw with one of the most vocal critics, if they can all agree, how do they not see that this legitimizes the whole resident oversight board? It's if you can be on one end, they're on one end, but at the end but when this is all over, there's a bylaw that everyone agrees to, that can only be a good thing for the town, because there are so many competing in different opinions and voices, but in the end, everyone voted on the same thing. And that's what presented to town council. So I think they're missing an opportunity here to say, listen, she was the most vocal critic, but at the end of the day, we agree on something. People will accept this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lisette?
Hi. Hi, Deb. I couldn't agree. I'm so sorry that you were put in this situation, but I couldn't agree anymore with what Everald said. I think you're an amazing advocate. I think that if the police were to not put resistance, that would be odd if they were to be on board. Because it's just not something that the police department would actually do. I did have a question, and I think I missed the beginning of your story. The information that you shared with the group, is that information that no one would be able to obtain through a Google search and going into their website and doing some search into reports?
Well, you would have to do like a public records request, because everything is a public record. So everything that we do is a public record, but they probably wouldn't put that on their website or anything like that,
But I would still be able to access that information if I
Yeah.
went through the proper steps of putting in
Yeah.
a public record.
Yeah, because everything that the town that we do, except if you go into like executive session, if it's something confidential and stuff like that, but obviously we're not in an executive session when we meet.
Right.
So everything that we do is a public record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So obviously, Deborah, I again want to just give you my gratitude for all of the work that you've put in. And I certainly would have big shoes to fill. And I also think that it is important to have somebody at the table. I mean, I think I felt I couldn't do yesterday, and it felt a little icky, and I was like, I'm gonna, send in my written comments, but I think that prioritizing being at the table and making sure that, I can carry on I mean, clearly I'm of the same mind as you, and I've read all the, hard work that went into it through 7Gen and CSWG. So I think that, knowledge wise, I bring that to the table, but I also, I just want to make sure that there's continuity, and that I'm not stepping in it and saying the wrong, something that contradicts what you have said. But I agree that it needs to be a transparent process. And I also acknowledge what both Everald and Lisette have said, in that you have been such a strong voice, and you are so well respected in the community, and people trust you and trust having you in the position to, stand up and say what you believe is right and what is right in these types of meetings. So again, I just want to really extend my gratitude to you, and the offer's still on the table if you want to.
Let me ask this question, because doesn't this put Allegra in the same situation? Because when we talk about resident oversight board updates, are you just going to be able to say, I can't say anything? The whole
Well,
point of
I
you
mean,
being
I
on the
think,
committee is
well,
to
I
report
think,
back to the committee.
yeah, I think like now that, you know, obviously all of this happened, there was the more clarifications around it. And I guess you could do like a broad overview in regards to it, but not go into any specifics, and then just share kind of, you know, like whatever resources that the facilitators shared and things like that. And I guess the facilitators have some type of website that they're gonna, you know, they're putting some of this information. So it's just kind of indicating people to that website in terms of whatever the resources are that the facilitators shared. So they don't want like the draft bylaws to be shared until it's ready to go public, you know? So that would be the thing, you know?
So we couldn't ask about what's, you know, I mean, we as a committee, open meeting laws, we can't talk about it anywhere else other than here. So we can say, we don't like this provision, propose this, or, I mean, isn't that the whole point of having a representative on the committee, is to one person go, come back, get the feedback, and then go back, so we cannot even do that.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's why I was flabbergasted. That's why I was confused, because that's what I thought the point was, right? To be able to get people's feedback and things like that as things continued. But after this, right, because like I said, because I'm about that transparency with you all, with the community, you know, because I don't think there should be any reason to hide anything as we continue to do this work, right? But yeah, so the clarification has become clear through this process, right? And that's why I made that decision to kind of like, at least for me, you know, not participate, is that, yeah, you can kind of be very general about it and then share what the facilitators kind of shared in terms of like PowerPoints and resources, things like that. But the actual draft bylaws themselves, only when we're given permission, and I'm thinking more so towards the end, is when the community can comment on it. So, and I think like, you know, like Shalini, you know, put something on the Indy on it, and that was one of the things that she wrote in there, and she's part of the stakeholder group, that would probably be when the community would get a chance to comment. But I'm of the same ilk as you, Avril, and that's why, right, everything went up in flames at the last meeting, because yeah, that's how I operate, right? Is to share so that you all and the community can participate in giving feedback. But that's just me. So,
So I guess for me as liaison now, my next step would be to attend the next meeting. And I
Yeah.
believe that they are going to extend the work of the group for at least 2 more sessions, was what it
Okay.
sounded like. So that there will be probably 3 more meetings.
Yeah, so if you want, we can meet before your next meeting.
That would, I think, be helpful. Just, I'm gonna just say it, and if I get in trouble, I get in trouble. I commented on some of the areas that were pointed out as points of contention, but there was kind of a big overarching question as to the fundamental kind of mission of the ROB, it seemed to me, from just reading other people's comments. And I believe that that is something that would be a further topic of discussion at further meetings. It was my reading of the debrief. And so I think that's kind of where it stood as far as I could tell. I see Erica has her hand up.
It's just a point of clarification. So Deborah, did the group say APDs or the representatives are coming back since you're leaving, or they're not going to come back anyways? And so why would we then remove you, who has really been representing us, if they're not going to come back anyways?
Well, I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, no one said for me to leave or anything like that. So I want to be clear about that. You know, this was totally my decision. Even Paul, wrote me a statement saying, Deborah, we wanted your feedback and stuff like that. I was the one that made that decision after the last meeting because the group wanted to extend the invitation to the police to be back. And there was, from my understanding, right, again, this is my understanding, that big kind of, you know, just realization that, hey, we need the police, at least the police representatives to be part of this, you know? And I think, you know, it's, you know, as everyone was saying, I mean, it was just, I gave him a good opportunity, right? A good excuse to like leave, right? And so for me, I was kind of like, you know, I made that decision to leave because I'm like, okay, if they're gonna go invite the police back to the table, then I don't want to be the reason why they don't come back, right? Because they basically said, oh, we're not, you know, this person, right, which was me, you know, broke our trust and so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just kind of like, okay, so that's me. I'm removing myself so that then there's no reason to say that this bylaw at the end of the day didn't have all the stakeholders that should have been at the table, right? Because Deborah, you know, shared information that she shouldn't have, which again, I didn't, but in their mind I did. And so now, you know, to give, and at the end of the day too, I don't want to give the town council any excuses, right? Because we know that the town council too, there's a lot of members that, you know, aren't going to necessarily be about this resident oversight board. So that's why I decided to leave, right? Because I don't want to kind of, and I don't know, you know, again, I left the group, so I'm not sure whether the police are coming back or they're not coming back. I don't know. But I just didn't want to be the reason why they don't come back.
I find it ironic that the people who are trying to form a transparent committee don't want to be transparent about it. Mhm.
Camille, is there anything you would add as a participant in the?
I just think that things are still moving along slowly. Working through all the things that were in that email that you got. There was another one today that I haven't gotten a chance to look at that we'll be going over. So.
Thank you. If there are no other comments about the Resident Oversight Board, I think we can move on to the Youth Empowerment Center. The update that we received from Paul was included in the packet. And it's not much of an update, but basically the money that had been quote unquote earmarked from ARPA has been moved into the free cash pot. And that was done due to concerns around clawbacks from the federal government, which seems like a reasonable fear. So my understanding is now, in order for that money to be released and used for the Youth Empowerment Center, it would have to go to a vote in town council, and which is what they just did with the money that they had kind of earmarked for any renovations over at the Bang Center. So I think they voted on it, like, not this past meeting, but the meeting before. So I guess my question would be, do we just continue to keep pressure on to say there's still a need for that $450,000 or however much it was to be allocated towards youth empowerment? I mean, I think that my concern would be that it gets shooed into the pot for something else. And Deborah, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be very vocal about this, that money needs to be earmarked for the youth empowerment. center, as well as that and to tell the town council that the youth empowerment center needs to be established, as was recommended by CSWG 4 years ago at this point. And I think, you know, and that was something that we had brought up before, like we need to go to the town council and let them know that this needs to happen. I mean, we need to, you know, be added to the agenda and let the town council know that this needs to happen. If not, this money is going to go away. That is what my fear is. My fear is that it being in free cash is then it will get sent someplace else. So, you know, as Paul said in his statement, he doesn't have that power to do that, right? So he needs to be told by the town council to, you know, earmark that for the Youth Empowerment Center and to establish it. And there needs to be a clear kind of, okay, outline. This needs to be established by this time, because that's what happened last time with the Youth Empowerment Center. No deadline, no outline in terms of when it was supposed to be put in place. And so therefore it just languished, right? And that the monies is to be used to establish the Youth Empowerment Center. And how do you go about doing that? And then the other thing too that I asked Paul for was to make sure that, you know, we have a representative to talk about the Youth Empowerment Center, right? So I asked about Ray, and then I asked about Melissa, the finance director. And Paul said they're very busy, so on and so forth. But I said, well, somebody needs to attend our meetings on a monthly basis to report back on where things are at with the Youth Empowerment Center, because we can't continue to have this basically vacuum, right? That was one of the main CSWG recommendations, and we have a vacuum in terms of information. No one attends our meetings that can actually answer our questions around the Youth Empowerment Center. So I'm still waiting to hear back from Paul in terms of when Melissa or Ray or both can attend our meetings on a regular basis, because we need that representative there. So for me, it's two-part, right? Is to have that representative, which I've already asked Paul that question, but we need to get on the town council agenda, you know, like ASAP to talk about YEC, you know, the Youth Empowerment Center first, you know, and foremost. But I think obviously if we get on the town council agenda, we should also then talk about the other recommendations too.
Thank you, Deborah. And I wanted to, my brain is just thinking like, you see that UMass has set up all these activities and extra things to dissuade people or give an alternative to participating in Blarney, which can cause trouble and police involvement. It is the same parallel in my mind for why we need a Youth Empowerment Center. It's a proactive way to give youth positive activities that would perhaps keep them from other activities that might lead to trouble. So I appreciate the conversation we had earlier, because I think that there are some parallels there that can be drawn in terms of why it's so important for there to be positive programming and positive activities and a place for kids to go.
Yeah, and that was what CSWG, you know, in terms of its recommendation, you know, in terms of when we were doing all of those research and studies and, you know, working with the consultants, that's why that recommendation came into place, right? That there needs to be a safe space, a safe place, because there's a lot of different places in town, but that different groups, especially marginalized and BIPOC groups, don't feel safe, right? They don't feel safe to be who they are, to really express themselves in the way that they need to express themselves based on their ethnicity, identity, you know, and so on and so forth. So this space, right, and having a physical space, I understand that, of course, DEI is starting to do some programming, which you know, I'm very thankful for, especially I know Philip has been doing a lot around that and everything, but we need a space for that programming, and we need some programming that actually is, you know, kind of goes towards what it is that our youth needs, and with that space, and a programming that's also kind of like detached from them being connected to the courts or to law enforcement or to whatever else, right? We want a safe space where young people can be who they are. And I think the town, and that's why we had made the recommendation, and we have that money earmarked, right? well, not anymore, but we had that money earmarked, and it needs to be earmarked again, plus a kind of outline in terms of getting the other funding that's needed, right? To establish a youth empowerment center that will have the budget necessary to be able to do what it needs to do. And as you said, Allegra, it goes in tandem, right? So it can't be just, well, look, the schools are going through problems, and so the schools need that money or whatever. The schools, it will work in tandem with the schools, right? Because the schools can only do so much. So what's happening after school, right? Or before school, right? I know there's some morning movement, what have you, that just showcases that there's a need, right? There's a need for a space that could be available to parents before school and after school. So it can't be an either or, it's an and both, right? We need our schools to be fully budgeted, and we need a youth empowerment center, because it will help, right? That will help the schools to be able to do their work. And then the after schools too will work along with the schools. So it's a win-win. It's just a win-win, right? So we need to make sure that happens. So for me, that would be my suggestion, but obviously I want to hear other folks in terms of what should be our next step. Because I'm just really concerned that money is going to be gone if we don't have the town council earmark it and really put together an established kind of like deadline. Okay, this is when the Youth Empowerment Center needs to be established by.
I mean, I think, oh, Erica.
I was just going to say, I really like the idea, Deborah, in terms of a budget, because I know one of the things that town council is going to ask for is, well, what do you think in terms of how we're going to be able to sustain it beyond, year one? And I'm wondering, are there towns around us that have a youth empowerment center that we could maybe look at their budget and see how they actually get funded? So we can then think about putting some information down as concrete. And I apologize, my husband's birthday, so my grandchildren are on Viber talking to him.
Not a problem.
So one place that I do know that has pretty robust services is Andover. I know it's in Eastern Mass, but they have like youth services, youth center. I can look into some other more local towns.
Why don't you find out the places and let me look? Sounds like you got a lot on your plate. So if you can give me some towns, I will research it.
Okay. But I think, and I know it's another agenda item, so I think getting on the town council agenda is probably the most logical next step. So I don't know, Deb, do you want to reach out to them, or should
Yeah,
I?
I can reach out to them. Let's see when it is that we can get on their agenda. But also like, well, and I think, Erica, like your idea in terms of bringing up a budget, I mean, I get that, but also I don't want to, I mean, my thing with us getting and talking to them is just to say, listen, we already have all the information, everything that CSWG brought up and everything. For me, it's not about me letting them know, okay, this is the budget for, or this is how you're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, we already know that there's different people within the town. Obviously, there's a finance director, there's, Ray or someone else. They need to be tasked, right? To figure that stuff out, or bring in a consultant to figure that out, right? In terms of how to kind of keep that going. I just need them to be able to say, right, to reconfirm that YEC is needed, that we need to earmark that funding, and to have a deadline to put that together, right? But I don't think I'm not a specialty in establishing, you know what I'm saying? Youth empowerment centers or centers for young people, so I don't know if that would be the best use of our time, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when we share, because I remember when we shared a lot of the budget with CSWG, that was just kind of like ignored pretty much until they were able to kind of do their own research,
Thanks, Deborah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So Deborah, is there anything else you wanted to talk about the town council meeting, or just trying to get on it? And then if we can get a date by next meeting, then we can plan a little bit more about our approach.
Well, I guess, I think it's up to us, like, do we want to, maybe what we want to do is like, let's think through this, right? Maybe like April. But when's the budget? I guess that's the thing. When do they kind of make decisions on the budget? Maybe that will kind of drive as to when we should get on the agenda.
So usually Paul presents the budget around May 1st, I think, is when he comes up with the initial presentation. And I think there's a series of forums, and the finance committee meets about each specific part. And then I think the final vote is usually like mid-June.
So do we need to get on then for like April?
I think that makes sense.
Because all I was saying, what I'm trying to check is like, should we meet one more time to kind of really iron out what it is we want to discuss? Or should I just ask to be on their agenda for their April meeting?
I think if you just ask for us to get on the agenda, and if they grant us that that date, then we can form a small subcommittee of the two of us co-chairs and come up with.
Yeah, because we would be the ones anyway presenting, but then we could kind of get feedback from the CSSJC group in terms of what to include and things like that in our presentation.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, all right. Sounds good.
So I think, can we move on to retreat planning? Erica, do you have an update for us?
Yes, so Pat and I met once, and then she unfortunately let me know that she will no longer be able to continue, but we did meet once. And we had suggested two different dates, and I heard back from, I haven't heard back from you, Lizette, or Everald. We actually had two dates, but I would like to propose that we just focus on one, because the first date was April 6th, which is the day after the Global Village Day. And I think the staff that are going to be working all day plus, I think it'll be hard to ask them now then to be available to open up the Bangs Center for us and be available. So the second date was April 12th, but then we also heard that Deborah is going to be emceeing the Cape Verdean Alliance evening. But let me just say that the second date was April 12th. If we need to move it to the 13th or the 19th, the 20th, 26th, the 24th, we can do it. I mean, one of the things, Everald had mentioned to us is that we could have a starting discussion. It doesn't, if we don't decide to have it, the proposal was from 9 to 4, to have it that long, we could start maybe a few hours and then continue maybe having meetings in between these meetings to continue our conversation. But let me go back to, let me just ask Everald and Lizette, if I can put you on the spot, what does April 12th look like for you? It's a Saturday.
That looks like it's fine with me, Erica. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you.
That's
I-
okay.
I think it would work for me also, but I mean, given that we quite frankly lost two people, is there does it make sense to pause and figure out what's happening with our group first before, I mean, if we have a retreat, they won't be involved in that. Or do we just want to say, just move ahead with what numbers we have?
Well, I think that is a really good point. I mean, so the purpose of the retreat, there was a sort of multiple purpose. So the end purpose was to leave with a shared understanding, one, of how we work with each other, how we communicate with each other. Two is to have a baseline understanding of what our role is as the CSSJ, vis-a-vis also DEI and CRES. And before doing that, we thought we would sort of go back a little bit to the seventh generation report, the the working group's recommendation, just see what we've achieved and where do we want to go next. And so then we really want to leave with an action plan, and hoping that, with this action plan, we would figure out who is going to do what, maybe roles, maybe subcommittees, but we're down to, just us at this point. And then the question is, when we have 2 more people join us, do we then have to start all over again with these conversations? So it's a question for the group. We are moving forward. We have a lot on our plate. We're going to be going to the town council to ensure that we're going to get that youth empowerment center, that money is going to go to the youth empowerment center. We have Allegra, you're going to be on the ROB, and Deborah, you're still going to be coaching and working with Allegra on that. And we're going to be supporting CREST right now in the budget talks. So, I mean, we are fulfilling the mission that we have. So we could continue right now and wait to get 2 more members, or we could spend half a day working on what we think, how we want to work. And I mean, the other decision that, Pat proposed that it just be the CSSJ members right now. So we get to know how we work best with each other, how we best can communicate with each other and keep us, abreast and aboard. And then possibly at another sort of part 2 of retreat, then also bring in Camille and Philip and Pamela, and think about how we work with them. So, it's if we start this work now and then we have 2 more members, we sort of have to step back and start again. So it's really up to the group.
I'm of 2 minds. I mean, I think that a larger retreat, once we have new members and we kind of go through all the documents and, I think and collaborate with the departments, I think could be helpful. I don't think it would be a bad idea to maybe do some goal setting. I think that the committee has been working really efficiently over the last couple of months. I think breaking into smaller tasks has been helpful. And, I think in terms of, Everald and Lisette have been on the committee for a while now, and Deborah and I have been here since its inception. But I think Erica has joined and taken on responsibilities nicely with the group. So I guess that is to say part of the thought process around having a retreat was in part to do some goal setting around kind of what the committee gets done. So I don't think that would be a bad maybe couple of hours as opposed to a full day. And then think about a more cohesive process once we have more members on board.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Allegra in terms of like, we can maybe do like a shortened version, maybe like 9 to 12 or 9 to 1, you know what I'm saying? And just kind of like do some kind of goal setting, because I think that that's not a bad thing to just kind of like have some of these conversations, but then do the full day once the other 2 members are on board. Because then we can continue the conversation. And even like maybe what we can do when we do meet, for more this abbreviated portion, to kind of talk about, right, even how we onboard new members and stuff like that. And that could be part of it, because since we'll be onboarding new members soon, because I know that that's something that, we've struggled with in the past. Like what is it, what's the list of things that we need to share with new members and things like that, so that they're brought up to speed and all of those things. So I don't think it'll be bad to just start the conversation, but have an abbreviated conversation. Yeah, the 9 to 4, I think would be too long.
Everald and Lisette, are you also of the same mind of what Deborah and Allegra just shared? Sort of 9 to 12, 9 to 1. We could say 9 to 1, and if we're done by 12, we can just stop at 12, and really just be very precise about goal setting and also our role in terms of who then is going to do what.
So I would support if we want to do a shortened day. That's fine. If we don't want to wait till we get full membership. Yeah, I think, if we go and we said, okay, this is specific to setting goals, then yeah, that makes sense to me.
Shorter day is fine with me, Erica.
Okay, great. Philip had me get in touch with, and I'm going to blank on her name. So we do have the 12th available at the Bank Center. So I will just confirm that we're going to do 9 to 1, maybe 9 to 12. I think Philip said that he was going to be the one who's going to open and close with, for us for the day. So I think he'll probably be happy we're not doing it on the 6th of April. And that'll give Deborah you some time before you get ready for emceeing. So I would like to put something together a little bit more specific that everyone can comment on, except I have one problem. I have a computer that only does Google Docs, and supposedly Google Docs we can't post. Google Docs are great in terms of sharing comments and then finalizing the document to then be shared as part of our packet. But I don't know what to do since I don't have Word.
If you put together the Google Doc and send it to me, I can share it as a Word doc.
That would be perfect then. If you could do that, Allegra, that'd be great. Because my understanding is we can only post Word documents. We can't post anything else, not a PDF or Google Doc. So, okay, so I will put something together, make it really concise for the 9 to 1, and it'll be open for comments, any revisions. At this point, we don't have a facilitator, so I will try my best. Pat and I were going to do it. And I was just hoping Pat was going to do it because she is so calm and very insightful and focused. So I will try to channel her, which I'm not going to do a good job at, but I think we're all leaders. So, here we all work together as collective leaders. So I think it'll be fine.
And what about food? Were you able to get anything?
So I know, Camille, you were looking into that to see if we had any budget or anything. But do you have an update or anything for us?
No, I can check on that and email you back. I can look into it for Friday
Yeah.
and email you back what I get information.
Yeah. And if not, would we be willing to maybe each bring something healthy to snack on, or not healthy either? But I would commit to bringing something healthy and something sweet if there is no budget. And anybody who's really busy like you, Deborah, if you wanted to bring some cups, I'll bring the juice. That way you don't have to do anything. So I'll wait for Camille, and if there is no budget, then I will, as part of what I send out to you, just put in you can volunteer to bring something.
Yeah, because hopefully, Camille, hopefully, we can get something, because, yeah, I mean, I get it that CSSGC doesn't have, budget. I mean, which is too bad, because we should be able to have budget to kind of do some of these things that are important to the work that we're doing. But so hopefully there could be something for us to kind of have some food there, especially like for when we get there in the morning, and that we can just snack on throughout the time that we're there, and like some coffee and things like that, coffee, tea, whatever. And then, yeah, and then obviously if that doesn't happen, then we can just potluck it,
Wait, are we talking about a budget just for the 12?
Yes.
For just the 5 of us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can sponsor that. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Avril.
Yeah. So if you guys-
Avril, before you be so generous, can we see if the town can, see if the town can pay it?
No.
And then if they can't, then you can be very generous.
Because I can go to Starbucks, or we can go get something from Panera. It's either one is fine.
Did Starbucks recall their DEI program? We're not going anyplace.
Yeah, I know. Did they? Did Starbucks? I don't even know. Let's just-
I'll go
I
look
know
at
they
the.
rescinded their bathroom for everyone policy.
Mm.
I don't know about the DEI part of it.
Yeah, it's already bad enough. What about the works though? Because they're in our town. Oh,
So,
We'll
No.
figure it out.
Oh, we'll
I'll
figure it out. First, let's-
Erica, you can research everybody's DEI policies in town.
Yeah, exactly.
Let us
Yeah.
know.
yeah,
It'd be good if we use like a person of color or whatever business.
Any catering? Do we have a business of color that does catering?
I don't know if, because there's Auntie Elsie's in Belchertown, and I think they're only open on Saturdays, so I don't know if that would work in terms of getting things. I'm just trying to think. I mean, there's cupcakes. There's always the
Oh,
cupcake
oh, yeah,
store.
right there.
It's right down the street from me. I can go pick
Right
them up
down
on
the
the way.
Me too. It's very dangerous.
do they have coffee? Because it's the first thing in the morning.
I know. I'm
Mhm,
trying to.
coffee.
I know Futura, which is right next to it, has coffee. I don't know if they do like Box of Joe's or.
I'll
what-
check. I'll check. It's right down the street from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a coffee pot.
Or we have.
Oh, okay. Well, we can bring some Futura coffee with the coffee pot. And I have lots of tea. I've got like you name the tea, I got it. All right. Well, we'll put it together. I'll put a list together. I'll wait for Camille, and then once I hear from Camille, if there's no budget, then I'll be looking for you, Everald. And I just want to check, Everald, did you get my email? And Lizette, did you get my email? Because if you didn't, that means I don't have the right emails for the two of you.
So, in fairness, I think I have over 1,000 unread emails. So,
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure. So I will probably put exclamation point. I need you to reply if it's food for the 12th. But yeah, okay. I just want to make sure that I've got the right email addresses.
but I'm sure I got it. I use iOS, and I kind of love what they did. They categorize your emails for you now. But if they think it belongs in this category, I have no say in it. Yeah.
Maybe is there a tagline that gets you to your priority emails?
I don't know how they do it. Yeah. It's
Okay.
yeah.
Fabulous. I'm going to check it up. All right. Well, thank you. This is great. So April 12th, I'll confirm, let them know that we are going to use the Bank Center, and you'll be hearing from me.
Okay. I am off. I've had a very long day, last couple of days. So I hope you all have a great month, and I will get in touch with you, Erica, Friday. Thank you.
Enjoy your cruise.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
So we have one other public comment period that we can move on to. If you would like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand function, and then we will bring you into the room. For the public who doesn't have access to this, there are 4 of you still hanging in there with us, so thank you for that. And I see Miss Pat's hand up. I'm going to bring Miss Pat in.
Hi again, it's me. So I'll be really quick. And listening to Deb on the reasons why she resigned, I think a lot of things came to mind. And, I was reflecting on the process of how, Rob bylaw committee was set up. I feel that Paul appointed mostly people who will agree with him to keep the status quo. And CSWG never recommended having police or the union, to be part of something like this, even though we didn't mention bylaw committee with CSWG, but it's a conflict of interest to have the police and union be part of this group. And I, when I heard that Deb resigned, I supported her. The reason why I supported her is that I felt that it would be a waste of time for her to be in that group where she's not feeling supported. I'm embarrassed to say that most of the committee members are people of color. And just to have only one Black woman, an accomplished attorney, treated like this, what does this say about our town? And to get her to the point of resigning. That's what we should be focusing on. Why was it that Attorney Deborah Ferrara did not get the support that she got from you guys tonight, where you all spoke up to support her? I thank you all. It just melted my heart to hear each and all of you, appreciating, her role with that group. However, I wasn't at that the other meeting, but from what I've gathered from last meeting, CSWG and CSSJC, and today what she had, said, it was very clear to me that she didn't get the support, even from people that look like her. So we have a big issue in our town. We call ourselves liberal town. Are we really liberal? Are we liberal when things only impact white people and then we want to react? Okay. I also want to, my disappointment about the group wanting the police to come back. They didn't have the same sentiment with a Black woman, an attorney doing the right job for us, doing advocacy for us, pushing for justice for us. I didn't hear nothing in the public or anywhere from that group supporting her. I'm kind of like really, really ashamed. Also, the whole idea of she was sharing too much, making rules, that's what powerful people do. They made up the rules, like it cannot be public meeting. Why not? CSWG, recommended resident oversight board. Eventually it will be it is for the good of the public. However, the police wants to have upper hand. They came up with rules. The meeting cannot be open to the public. Why not? Why should any resident, go for, in order to get any of the meeting notes? How are we sure that even meeting notes are kept? So the whole thing, I'll tell you right now, I'm not speaking for all Black people in this town or marginalized people. Already, people have made up their mind that the recommendation from the RUB bylaw, nobody's, they're not going to take it. It's already been decided, even before the committee was created. Decisions have already been made. We will make RUB so useless, like they won't have any power to do anything. So just creating the bylaw that the town manager establishes just to check off the box. Decisions have already been made, and people were appointed that will agree with Paul and the town council, who are majority white people. Okay. I also want to speak about at least a little bit of experience that I had with CSWG. With our co-chair, we have to push to get into town council meeting. So I like this discussion tonight. So the co-chairs, get to Lynn. She has to put you guys in so that you guys will go and, present what you have to present. And when you do that, please include CREST, all the issues that you guys have been discussing. Put everything, and the rest of the committees, encourage you all to show up also. You don't have to say anything, but your co-chairs will do the presentation. And I believe in them. They will do a good job. You guys have to push. Don't take no for answer. If they try to schedule you guys for September, say no. They need to put you guys on ASAP. I listened to the last town council meeting on Monday, And I was just shaking my head with some of stuff they were discussing, with, wasting time on urination, arresting people for whatever. So, and in terms of budget, like when town council gets their retreat or travel to Boston to whatever they do, there is budget allocated to that. So the town needs to provide. It's not about, one person volunteering to pay. No, it's about equity. You guys are not asking for much. Why is it that DEI and CREST don't have any budget for projects like this? Even the Global Village Festival, I asked if the town is going to be providing tents, for groups, and they said no. What are we doing with the tax that we pay in this town? Just to go to Jones Library? I will just stop there. Allegra, you mentioned Auntie Elsie, she actually closed. She's no longer in business.
Oh,
She
sad.
closed last month. Let's see. So that's all. Thank you all. The youth center thing, don't let that money go somewhere else. It needs to go to what it was earmarked for, because Banks Community Center, their money still goes to renovation. So there should not be any excuses to reallocate that funds to another project. It should not happen at all. Let's see, what else am I? I like this group right now. I like you guys. I like how you guys are working together and supporting each other. Keep up the good work. And Allegra, thank you for stepping up to, replace Deb. And Deb, I'm always proud of you. I always, stand with you, because when you speak, you're speaking for a lot of people in this town, myself included. So they cannot afford to ignore you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Pat.
Would anyone else like to make a public comment? If so, please use the raise hand function.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you. My name is Alicia Walker, Amherst resident, District 5. I just wanted to give a brief public comment because I wanted to thank you all for the critically important work that you're doing for the town. I know that it can be really hard sometimes because you don't always get the support that you deserve. And so I really appreciate your persistence and your dedication to the work. And I also did want to give, a public thanks to Deborah for all of your advocacy work over the years and for really not backing down and standing your ground on these really important issues that affect our community, because people have not had a voice in this fight. And I think that has been part of, what the legacy of the CSWG was that we were really able to bring people to the table who have been marginalized and silenced in this town. And so I really am so appreciative and grateful for the work and for your efforts in trying to make sure that those voices are still brought to the forefront, and that doesn't go unnoticed. I did also just want to say one thing about the Resident Oversight Board. I apologize. I had to join the meeting late, so I missed some of what was talked about. But I did hear Ms. Pat's comment before me, and I wanted to just, not that you all need this reminder, but just to state publicly that part of the reason why the Resident Oversight Board was a recommendation was to give the community an alternative way to report problematic police conduct or to make any type of complaint, because right now it is done through the police department. And so I'm not even sure why the police would be a part of this process. That seems contradictory to me since we're trying to create an alternative. I do understand why the police union might need to be vetted once we have bylaws that are already determined, but I'm not understanding why they actually need to be a part of the decision-making process when we're looking for an alternative and they already have their own internal system. Like we are trying to make a different one. And so I find that problematic in itself, but I find it highly problematic, the resistance to sharing the information that happens in the meetings with the public, because another part of this recommendation was to increase transparency. Like that is the key here. We want everything that's happening within the community and with the police to be transparent so that people can really feel safe and people can know what's going on. And if we're not even going to be transparent in the process of creating the board, then why would our community believe that the board will actually provide transparency to the public? I don't think that that makes any sense. And I think it leaves us with the real question as to why. Like, why would the people on this board not want the meetings to be public? And I think that's a very important question that we should all be asking ourselves, because it really is telling. And again, I just wanted to thank you all for the work you're doing. I look forward to hearing more. And I look forward to you all being able to bring light to some of these issues in our town that are really severely overlooked. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Town Councilor Alicia Walker.
Thank you, Alicia. Not seeing other hands. It is 8:32. And I believe we can adjourn. I don't think we need to vote. I think we can just give a thumbs up and well done, everybody. I'm very
Well,
impressed.
This is the first time that we've actually finished on the time we said we were going to finish.
I think so. All right, it is 8:32 and we are adjourned.
All right, thank
Night.
you
Have a
all.
nice evening.
Good night.
Bye.